Today, it's a brand new social network. Wait, let me try this again. One sec.
Actually, no, that's actually a pretty good intro for a.
I'm keeping it.
It's a brand new social network. Wait, let me try this again.
Yeah, it's also kind of broken, and also the music didn't play.
Oh well, then we should do it again.
Oh yeah, we need to start over.
Yeah.
Why for you not play music? Why? Oh, probably right. Probably because. No, that's correct. Sorry, one sec. Nope. No sound. This is.
That's.
Wait. Okay.
It's repairable. I'm sure it is.
Here's what we're gonna do. All right, here we go. Today, it's a brand new social network that may or may not work. It's called ChillPoint.
Now I don't really want to start a social network, but I bet we could do a better job.
I feel like I don't want to start a social network, but I bet we could do a better job is how a lot of very bad social networks get started. How hard could it be? I could make Twitter in a weekend.
We don't have to make it large. We don't have to make it large.
I was on a Discord the other day where people were like talking about threads and Mastodon and all the other things, and they're just kind of like, because there's like so much right going on, and it's like maybe we just need to see the death of all social networks, and you know, like, oh, that's it. We just need to not have anywhere. We just not have a social network at all. We'll just come here and hang out. And I was like, oh my dude. Tell me again what Discord is.
It's considered a social network, actually.
Yeah.
Yep. No. I don't.
It's
mean like no. I just want the social networks that I don't like gone.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Hey, people are asking in chat. Yes, it's kind.social is the Mastodon server where we're kind of just
a lot of us are hanging out at. Yeah.
Go sign up there because it's the fastest way for you to get onto the service. And Texan's always happy to help you.
I just moved my server over to that one because I signed up back when everyone was like, you go to this other one.
Yep.
And I actually read the local timeline now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice. That's cool.
So hey everybody, welcome to ChillPoint, where we talk about the week's video game news, as well as the episode of Checkpoint that went up yesterday. As the more observant among you may have noted, we are still remote, which makes us all very sad. But we are still in battle with the local ISP that
might need to start some screaming therapy stuff for our entire company. I think
I say battle, but like that implies that they're doing anything. Like they're just not coming when they say they're coming, which is surprisingly effective as a battle strategy, but it's hard to we certainly can't really defeat it. Because
Well,
there's not
not like
even,
that.
it's just like, so you said you were going to be here. Yeah. You're not here. Yep.
Yep.
When will you be here? We can make
were
another,
there.
We can make another appointment
Yeah.
in 5 days.
Look, I know I do this kind of thing a lot, but I don't have to install people's internet.
I believe when Graham did call in, they said, "Oh no, they said they showed up today." And it's like, I know that's what your computer says, but a real human being on the other end of the phone who is waiting on your service is telling you they never came here at all. And
I
we
mean,
were there in the window you were supposed to be there. So
maybe they just like showed up and were like, ugh, nah, I can't handle this today. And then just left
What?
yeah.
without even
But
going
they're
inside.
not FedEx.
Yeah. Anyway.
Or insert other local whatever, UPS, I don't know, whichever.
Is there a government regulator you could get to lean on them? I invite you to go read anything about the CRTC and see what you think.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
No, you're right. Let's start the show.
All
I'll shut
right.
up.
Let's move on and talk about happier things.
What? What show are we on again?
Like
Happy things?
for instance, well, I mean, so the episode of in the episode of ChillPoint, Graham had a very well, not, I wouldn't say very in depth, but extensive
Lengthy.
rundown, because he wasn't able to go in depth because there was so much ridiculousness that came out of the FTC Microsoft trial, just in terms of fun things that we weren't previously privy to. And if you saw last week's episode of ChillPoint, we actually went through, because a lot of that stuff was actually from the week that we were off of ChillPoint. So a lot of that stuff we sort of already covered on ChillPoint. So we won't rehash that. But
We don't need to go into it again. But if you haven't heard the FTC stuff, you should look at it because it's funny.
it's funny, and as talked about before, it's always so fascinating to see when large companies are changing their story, or changing the way they're framing things, when they're not talking to consumers or shareholders, and so this whole sort of minimizing themselves, or trying to or talking about competitors in a very sort of frank way, that's quite interesting often.
Yeah, but we get to learn all kinds of things that you'll want for your internet fights, like what AAA gaming is, and who's in Gen 8 and Gen 9, and which console won the console wars. And so all of those arguments have now been defeated forever. We don't need to have them until another thing happens.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about, I mean, in the post the post show talk, Beej and Graham were talking a little bit about this whole, the console wars, excuse me, the console wars, and this idea of like, is Nintendo even part of the console wars? Did they, who won? Is the console wars just Sega or just Sony and Microsoft?
They're the only two people who make consoles anymore.
And I feel like there is definitely, there is that aspect of, I was trying to think about like a good metaphor. The only thing I could come up with is like, who's the winner between, who's the winner between like VW and Ford in terms of car manufacturers.
Right.
And meanwhile, somebody's over here making motorcycles, which are also get people where they're going along roads fast. And they're like, not sort of, they're like, yeah, they're competing in the sense that they're both things that take people down roads fast.
Exactly.
But they're not actually, they don't really care what the other people are doing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like, we know we don't make a
but
car. We don't make a car. I mean, you could also think of like, well, who's the most popular drink in the world? Is it Coke or is it Pepsi? And meanwhile, like,
Yeah.
Water manufacturers are out there being like, "Hey, we bottle water and everyone drinks water. Should we not be part of the same?" Like, no, you either drink Coke or you drink Pepsi in this capitalist
they
market.
made a Fire Emblem game about this. It's called Fire Emblem Fates. You either play whatever the one is, or Conquest, or you download the DLC and get to play the third one, which is technically both sides.
I mean, I like coffee and tea. Actually, if you're just like tea is a thing. I say water manufacturers. I meant more like public utilities that pump water to your house.
Because I was
not actual water manufacturers. Fuck those guys.
I mean, I was going to say Coke and Pepsi both own large water bottling companies.
They sure do.
Dasani is Coke, I think.
Yeah, and I think Aquafina's Pepsi.
I don't know.
Anyway,
or are they? Yeah.
Like, it's not a perfect metaphor, but it is
Water
an interesting. The video game market is interesting in that way. It's sort of the because it's sort of, in a lot of ways, it's sort of there's this sort of entertainment. It's almost the real competition is almost the larger like entertainment dollars.
Yeah,
which includes movies and TV shows and
people who manufacture trading cards,
all that kind of stuff, YouTube series, Twitch streaming,
casinos. It's weird, right? Because it's how wide do you set your scope, and or if you're narrowing your scope down, because I mean they're definitely talking about it's Microsoft versus Sony when it comes to video games. It's like, right, so Steam is not involved in this, but even Steam isn't 100% of all PC gaming.
I mean, they're not even involving PC gaming because they're talking about console gaming, right?
Exactly.
So let's see, you could say
Playdate.
Playdate. Mine just actually shipped.
Analog Pocket.
So there's those, but there's also just in what sense are you fighting? What are you fighting? Are you fighting technologically? Are you what's your stance on making a video game?
Exactly, yeah, that's true. Where do you occupy that part of the industry?
Because I feel like you could put all three of these kids in a playground, and it's just like you've got the two who are like fighting each other over sandcastles or something, and then you have the third one who's like, I'm just going to play in this other corner. They're still technically all on the playground.
Yeah, and I feel like if this is losing the console wars, Nintendo is like, we'll do this all day.
Yeah.
So
I can lose a battle all day.
I would love to lose in that fashion. Like, I mean...
Yeah. Anyway, the one piece that was sort of left over or was, I guess, new this week was this interesting thing of that Minecraft, which is Microsoft has sort of put forward as an example of something that was, they took over Mojang, and Minecraft was a multi-platform release, and Microsoft is like, look, we kept it multi-platform. In fact, we made 4 times more money on Switch and twice as much money on PlayStation than we did on Xbox. So we're great. We're happy to have it a multi-platform thing.
Yeah.
Which it just was this kind of interesting.
If it was already multi-platform when they got it, like, why would you
restrict it?
Why would you restrict it after that?
I mean, that's part of the question with Call of Duty, right? They're like, well, why would you restrict Call of Duty? It's like, why would we do that? It's like, well, we know why you do it.
If because they're talking about like when you make further iterations of Call of Duty, they don't. I know they update Minecraft and they make like legends and whatever, but it's not really one of those games that constantly has a new version that comes out or new box copy.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, they don't. They're like but new from the makers of Minecraft, Minecraft 2, right? That's not really that isn't happening.
Yeah.
Like the whole there's the whole discussion about the like Starfall. Is that Starfield.
Yeah. I know, very memorable.
1,000 voices just called out in the comments section.
Yeah.
And the idea that that was a multi-platform, and then they turned it into an exclusive, even though they didn't want to. Apparently, Sony made them turn it into an exclusive.
Yeah.
Because it was going to be an exclusive for Sony otherwise, so they had to do it. I don't know. Although that additional bit of info where the person from Xbox is like, so hey, we just bought Bethesda for a lot of money
Yeah.
based on an evaluation that was taking into account the fact that their games are available to X number of people, and so that's how many sales they're doing. So that's how you paid money for them on the market, or whatever. Like, you bought them with the evaluation taking that into account, and then immediately like chopped their revenue by making their things exclusive. So what we're saying is that like all the outcomes that we had sort of calculated for what this company is worth don't apply if you change what the company is doing immediately once you take it over.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
Yeah. And you'd think that in the whole in the financial investment aspect of that too, like in further out, you'd think that people who have been investing in Microsoft as a public company and saying, hey, we want to, like, you just bought this great big game studio, so that sounds like it's a fantastic investment for Microsoft. You're going to make all sorts of games and whatever out of this and sell them in all sorts of places, and Microsoft can make more and more money. And then they said, yeah, we're gonna chop off a piece of that market because we want this to be exclusive. Mm-hmm. And when they did that, did the stock take a hit? Because people were like, that means you're going to make less money. I mean, you're going to have less power to flex over the entire environment. And
they might have gotten a higher stock value if the idea is that your system will sell better,
right?
Because you're enforcing that people have to come to your system now. Yeah. That might have been seen as a good thing in terms of Microsoft.
You're building out your install base because you're saying, we want a bigger install base. So we're going to encourage people to buy an Xbox because now they have to buy this game from us.
And I mean, that's an internal, I don't think that's the kind of internal metric that, usually we don't know, although maybe it'll get brought out from the FTC thing, but whether the loss of revenue from making something exclusive is offset by the increase in subscribers to, Xbox Game Pass or people buying Xboxes. Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, I always thought they didn't care about trying to sell their console super hard because they had Game Pass and they had Microsoft computers and stuff. But I get the feeling that from some of the internal stuff that's kind of shown up, that's not the case. They would very much like to be doing better in console sales.
Yeah, console gaming is one of those things, a position of prestige as well, right? It's like if you can get people to play a game locked into your platform, if you can curry that kind of loyalty and favor, and I think they've seen that. It's like this has become Apple had that with the Mac for many years, right? Once you get people locked into a platform with that, it wasn't just about like, oh, I'm slavishly devoted to the whatever. It's like, I like living in this environment with Mac OS, with like System 7. I really like this. I like the way it feels. I like that it's a lot, I enjoy this more than operating a DOS machine or Windows whatever. And that sense of loyalty to it makes me feel like they want us to have a good time while we're doing these things. And so I believe in this company that wants me to have a good time doing these things. And I think that's the same kind of idea here, that it's like, I mean, it's why I like Nintendo so much, right? I've always had a great time playing games on my Nintendo, and I didn't have a ton of money to just buy a bunch of different systems.
So it has sort of a positive correlation.
Yeah. You want to establish that positive feedback thing. And
that is possibly something that is a value that isn't immediately sort of visible on a balance sheet, but has a sort of a soft value.
Yeah, I mean, who in our community like in the chat. You don't have to all say it. Actually, this is a terrible thing to ask you, but think about this to yourself. When's the last time you bought a different brand of toothpaste? Do you do it every time you run out of a tube? As you just try a brand new one? Not many of you will do that because you're kind of like, this is fine.
I've been getting some really weirdly aggressive toothpaste commercials lately.
Have you really?
Yeah, like I don't know what kind of toothpaste it's even for because I skipped the ad. I don't think it's one of the big ones. It's like this dude who's just like, you buy mint toothpaste. Why? Because your parents told you to, and he just like flings tubes everywhere. It's really weird.
Are these like these influencer commercials you keep getting that are all negging you and negging the
yeah,
products?
there's something like that. Yeah.
Jesus.
What kind of toothpaste does he want you to buy?
I don't know. I skipped the ad, Paul. Just very, very aggressive.
Speaking of things being squeezed through tubes, social media. and the plethora of new social media places that has started to come around, trying to feast on the corpse of Twitter, including the Pokemon forums, which
launched months ago.
Yeah, some people in the comments were saying that they've actually launched a while ago, but it just got somebody linked to some stuff that kind of picked up some steam.
That's fair.
Or at least got steamy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. There's something with all the social media stuff that has been sort of consternation about different social media things and stuff. Having a forum is sort of charmingly old school.
Yeah. Reddit kind of occupies that space of the forum type thing, like where it's like it's more asynchronous. It's not like it's immediate feedback. You're usually waiting on people.
I don't
to say
understand
things.
how you know what you haven't read on Reddit when people respond to threads within threads.
I don't even know what you're asking there.
In a Reddit post,
yes,
you can respond to someone's thing and it links it off of that thing.
Sure, yeah, that's how a forum works.
So yeah, well,
forums are more.
You can get quite deep,
chronological,
deeply nested.
Okay.
Yeah,
I see what
they're
you're
nested.
Saying. Fair.
So if you're trying to keep up on one, how do you know that someone's responded to other stuff?
That's a very good point.
I mean, maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe I shouldn't be reading any of these things. So maybe it's just better that way.
But the classical forum architecture is. I still spend a lot of time on something awful forums. So, there are still people.
Oh, I found a gaming one that I hang out on.
That's good. Yeah.
Pokemon
needed one, apparently.
Not the Pokemon one. Definitely not the Pokemon one. Although there were many jokes on the forum I hang out about it becoming the Pokemon forum, so that was something.
And Pokemon is still. I feel like one of the interesting things about Pokemon, like I'm currently playing Scarlet and Violet with my brother, and Pokemon definitely, even now, with all the quality of life improvements and stuff, even now sort of has that slight like schoolyard secret aspect to it, where there's stuff in the game that is not explained at all, and you can like in a situation where it's like, hey, this just happened to me, or this thing showed up, or why are these two Pokemon, like why is this guy different or better than this guy? I don't understand. And like, and then there's all the numbers of the Pokemon, but then there's actually the secret other numbers that you can't actually know because once you know them, they change.
Yeah,
they're Heisenberg uncertainty numbers. It's got sort of stuff in it that has that interesting thing where it does, and I'm sure it's intentional that it sort of sparks discussion or people sort of asking about different things, which I think is cool.
But yeah,
that's not what's going on this forum, is it?
What got everyone's attention.
But yeah,
what got everyone's attention is just kind of the sheer just race to the bottom of debaucherous content, and then that getting grabbed, then that being advertised on all of the other social medias to be like, lol, look at how hilarious the official Pokemon forums have become, and then immediately getting cleaned up, and it's like, oh, it's a boring place to go.
I just thought it would be like memes, like, you know, it bring up like Vaporeon or like some other bullshit, and to see tickle torture being a thing. I was like, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was gonna say, which Pokemon is the hottest is not something that is unique to these forums. I remember doing a story on ChillPoint like years and years and years ago that was like some website did a poll for like which Pokemon was the hottest. We argued that the hottest Pokemon would be Ditto copying George Clooney, but
ooh, yeah. All right.
But would he be able to get his face right?
No,
would he do the Ditto face thing?
I was very happy with my Photoshop of George Clooney with the Ditto face.
Nice.
But anyway, yeah, of course, it's all sorts of people asking about different things, and yeah, we always, as you know, whenever people are doing silly things on video game forums, ChillPoint will jump right in there.
Probably find you.
I feel like
or be told about you.
I'm pretty sure I wrote that entire story as just a stream of consciousness shot. Like I was just like, start writing. Oh, it does write itself. How about that? Okay, we're done. Put that in the thing. All right, next one. The ice cream. We'll talk about that in a minute.
And then and then Graham sort of tied it into the FTC thing, but it was actually a separate story. That was that Square Enix has just canceled Just Cause Mobile.
Yeah.
Which you'd be forgiven for not knowing about because it hadn't actually launched. It had launched in early access, like beta test in a few regions, but hadn't actually properly launched.
Yeah, they hadn't gone for a full out launch. So.
Yeah. And it is great sadness that we are announcing the end of development for Just Cause Mobile. As of tomorrow, July 3rd, the game will no longer appear on digital stores, and it is never easy to put forth an announcement of this nature, especially to our fans who have been awaiting the release. We sincerely appreciate the support you've given us. Please note that any blue diamonds purchased during the regional early access have been refunded to your Google Play account. So that's nice. I also this is July 3rd. Wait, when was this? This was posted July 3rd. The title, so it's saying the title is going to be pulled today. As of tomorrow, July 3rd, the game will no longer appear on digital stores.
Okay.
The server will also be deleted tomorrow during the day.
Holy crap.
They aren't beating around the bush on this one.
It's not coming back.
Yeah.
We need another development server for Final Fantasy 14, so this one's getting axed.
I doubt that's what's happening.
No, I know. This is probably completely different, like Studioette.
Oubliette.
This has gone to the forgetting place. We will never remember this game exists.
Apparently, it was marketed as an action shooter set in the explosive Just Cause universe and designed exclusively for mobile.
Maybe it just exploded itself.
It just blew up.
Yeah.
The server.
Yeah.
And not like in the good way when someone says, "Oh, my thing's blowing
up." What happened is somebody attached a zip line to one of the servers and then attached it to another server, and then the two servers ripped off the walls and smashed together. And there was a huge explosion.
It's good.
Because in my experience, that's the main thing that you did in Just Cause. Which, to be fair, was a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah. You make it sound awesome, actually.
I've only seen commercials.
Yeah, Just Cause, especially I think it's Just Cause 3.
A lot of people in Cloudface in that game, didn't they?
Which?
Just Cause? in clown faces.
Clown face?
I don't.
Yeah,
I
weren't
don't
all the
think
ads
so.
people like being dressed up like clowns and like throwing grenades and stuff? Or am I thinking of different shooty-mins?
I think you might be thinking of a different shooting mans.
Okay.
But yeah, Just Cause 2 and 3 were progressively sillier open world destroying things.
Okay.
Apparently that's Payday. Yeah, it's probably Payday.
I feel like Just Cause 4 I played a little bit of, but I felt it got to the point where it was like, look at all these wacky things you can do. There's no reason to do any of it, but you can. Like, it was just sort of like they had all these cool there's all these cool like weird mechanics, but it didn't actually like integrate them into the game that much. So you're sort of like, look at this cool thing. You can take a screenshot out of it and share it on social media. Now, liberate this base by shooting people. It's like,
damn. That's all the game is just is the same thing over and over. It's like, well, that's what most games are actually when you think about it.
A fun destruction sandbox, but not much of an actual game.
So Goat Sim.
Yeah, we don't get many stories about major studios canceling even just games based out of a license that's a major license for them. Just being like, we're not going to actually release this game. We're just going to kill it. That doesn't happen that often.
I mean, I guess the other version of this story is a story we do in 6 months where we release it and then where they release it and then we make fun of them because they released a, open world free to play game and then closed it after 6 months. So they're just getting out ahead of this whole thing, I guess.
Right.
They're like,
yeah.
Nope.
I mean, I did like Graham's Ender for that, where it's just like, oh, they're learning now. Maybe just stop making bad games.
Yeah.
Like,
you got to give people something to do though, or else you have to have
or they'll lay them off like they always do at the end of the year.
Yeah.
I like it somehow it just like goes all the way, it goes all the way up the tiers at Square Enix until, some high up brand manager is like, no one's going to buy this. Shut it down.
Yeah.
And then the last story, of course, we talked about Sonic's 30th anniversary. Yay!
Yeah.
It will always be Sonic's 30th anniversary.
Well, until we get to 40th, I think.
Or 35th, maybe? I don't know.
We'll see. We'll see how patient I am.
We'll see. Well, I feel like
we see
31 is not interesting. 32 is not as fun to say. Maybe 33. 33 could be fun.
If Sega makes like a big celebration of Sonic's 35th anniversary, I could see it. But
yeah, it's actually a good point. Yeah, new logo and everything.
If Sega wants us to move on from the 30th anniversary, they have to make a big deal about stuff.
I want to show them my foot logo that Paul made up for me the one time. Or that I think I made you a copy to be like, I think I want it to look like this, and you just went, yes, well, I'm not going to spend any more time on that. I can't remember if that was the decision that was made. It's like, oh, that's terrible. Sure, we'll use the thing Beach sent me.
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
But yeah, so because now we're at the point where they're making T-shirts of the merchandise from the previous year.
Yeah.
Which is, I feel like that's like the concert album, the tour album for your band coming out while you're still touring. Like it's kind of eating itself. Now we're gonna get like shoes with a picture of the T-shirt with the picture of the.
I'm gonna speculate something weird. Maybe.
Oh no! Okay.
Maybe this is a speculation.
Stand back, everybody.
We're gonna see. So let's just take the ice cream itself for a second.
Okay.
The ice cream was manufactured by a company called Blue Bunny. And so the history of putting gumballs as eyes into an ice cream thing has been around for a while.
Sure, okay.
Sonic was not the first. History. I'm pretty sure that like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles had one of those as well.
Sure.
Right? So anyway, I've seen multiple pictures online of people like holding up their very misshapen ones. The eyes are always in like different places and stuff. There's a lot that look very similar where it's like, that's a different picture of the same ice cream, but I don't think it was taken by the same person. I think literally that the things got like misaligned, a whole bunch of them get misaligned. And so they all got eyes in the same place, but the eyes were all like messed up. It's like, sure, whatever.
Okay.
But some people posted the wrappers that they came with as well. And somebody, I swear I saw this when I was doing the search, posted a picture of the same Sonic the Hedgehog thing with the same misshapen eyes, the same colors and everything else, like all the same kind of layout. But the wrapper said Sonic X on it. And Sonic X is like an older
Sonic X
cartoon.
is a Japanese cartoon.
Yeah.
Where he races against a police officer who has a thing about speed.
So that this was like intended to be a different piece of merchandise.
Well, it does make me wonder if I wonder if they've been manufacturing these for years, and just every time a new Sonic thing that Sega wants to promote, they just put the same thing out again, and that it's kind of been persisting in different places with different wrappers and different whatever. Like, it's like, yeah, this is not a thing that, and they haven't gotten any better at it. That's the other thing too. They've been making these things for years, and it's never improved.
Does it need to? Well, people are
maybe
just going to eat it. It's not like that face is going to stay perfect.
Yeah, maybe that's just what people expect now.
And now it's like, and then we go ahead and make merch of it, and do not have the intestinal fortitude to fuck up his eyes on the t-shirts. Because they should be all over the place.
Calm down. No yelling. Unneeded. Unnecessary.
It's like, but I don't get why they're like, oh, it's correct. And it's like, we know what it's supposed to look like. Show us the one that we like.
Anyway.
Okay.
But the particularly the what do you call it? The shonen version of all the merch.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if that's taken from like an existing. I wouldn't be surprised if there's like a Sonic anime-ish like shonen manga or something.
I feel like the designs have definitely been done before. Like it doesn't feel like 90s era Sonic. It feels like it's like something might have been released like at another time. But the style, like the color scheme and everything else, like this is a look that is in the world already. And not just the Ahegao shirt, but with Sonic, but literally like the orange and black and white kind of look to it is very much a
it's a specific style of like comic thing that you see every now and then.
Yeah, that's kind of like, that's a fairly popular that's maybe that's just because that's what's on Vogue, that they're kind of like, we're going to use that same kind of look to make it feel like it's part of the modern
zeitgeist. I think they're clearly aping a certain style. Yeah, which is cool, because I mean, I like, for me it's like I like the ice cream stuff better, just because it's like I know there's going to be a lot of like, Sonic said trans rights stuff going along because of the light blue, the light pink, and the white going on. I'm like, I really dig on that though. I think that's a really good color scheme, especially for ice cream. It definitely feels summery. So
Sonic should be for trans rights. I don't see why. There's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly. There's no problem with it. It's I wanted to work that somehow into the story, and I'm like, I don't think I can find a way to shove it in without feeling like I'm just kind of saying it offhand. But I'm like, that's what ChillPoint's for.
It's get all my other thoughts out. It's just one of those things. If you're anti-trans, Sonic's not for you anymore.
Exactly. Yeah.
Sorry.
Forever.
No.
Also, I like the sunglasses. I think they're cute.
Yeah, and they are only available for pre-order and only available in the UK.
Yeah. I was actually thought that was kind of weird. I went looking to see if I figured there wouldn't be a Canadian store. I figured there'd be an American one, though.
Yeah, I went to the American store. I'm like, odd. Now I know I'm getting Heather for her birthday, and I'm like, oh, well, can't do that. Okay, UK store. Oh, I actually can't buy these from the UK store because I don't live in the UK. So whatever. Maybe they'll come out here eventually, or they'll end up at PAX or something.
I wonder if Sonic is has a particular deep fan base in the UK.
I think it's just that most European character marketing stuff, maybe it's just video game character marketing stuff, but most European marketing stuff tends to lean more on
I think
there's a thing about North America where it's like, hey, put the logo on a shirt, and then everyone will want to wear the logo on the shirt, and that's kind of all you want to do. But I feel like the Europeans have a little bit more of, hey, put something ridiculous on the shirt and sell it as an official item.
Okay. I think Paul's question is very important.
Yes.
And nobody in chat should answer it because we should go to the UK firsthand and find out. The three of us.
Yeah.
Send me, Paul, and Beach to the UK to find out if Sonic is incredibly popular or not. We'll just go find people in the street and ask them.
Yeah.
One of those
so
like,
much fun.
One of those ask random people on the street segments.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll probably get chased out of the country the way I do it, but it'll be great.
You'll find like a random prince and ask him, it's like, what do you think of Sonic the Hedgehog?
I don't think they have that much royalty there.
In the UK?
Like I don't think you can just find a random prince on the street.
Oh, I don't know.
Like that. What kind of isekai thing have you been reading?
There's they have a very finite number of princes, and they're kept pretty close. I think
they keep them in the same area.
They keep a pretty close eye on them.
Yeah, but I think they generate more princes per capita than we do in Canada.
Well, sure, but I don't think you can just find them lying around in the street.
Depending
currently.
I mean, if you could find the younger princes, you could probably be like, what do you think of this? You know, like show them Sonic the Hedgehog.
I do not want to interact with children.
Oh, fair. All right.
That's mostly fair. I feel like if you go up into the street in the UK, even the UK streets, to a random child with ice cream in your hand and you ask them what they think, you're getting arrested.
I'm going to say
it's not a good idea.
I'm going to say that the former Prince Harry, what do we just call him now? Harry? Just Harry. Harry of Wales. Harry Windsor. Harry Windsor.
We could go. We could go to a pond and see if any of the frogs there are princes and if they like Sonic.
All right, I think
I can do that.
Yeah, we could go to like Scotland. There's probably way more people there who would be happy to be princes for us.
Yeah. Okay.
Probably
sure,
lots
right
of
on.
white people who are like related to the old Scottish family who are like, we'll talk to you.
The UK, whichever. Just send me on a trip so I can stick a microphone in some random person's face and ask them if they like Sonic.
Absolutely. If you live in the UK, let us know who those people are, and buy Heather a pair of sunglasses.
Anyway, I feel like we may have drifted slightly off track.
Yeah, what was I talking about?
I do not know.
Oh, the hat.
The hat? Sure, the hat.
That's a good hat.
You know what else is good? Nicolas Cage.
Oh, yeah, he is.
So going on to stories that we didn't talk about in the episode of ChillPoint. Now, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, that Dead by Daylight, the asymmetrical horror multiplayer game, is having that Nicolas Cage, they revealed a little while ago that Nicolas Cage is going to be added to the survivors. Not a character that Nicolas Cage played, the actor Nicolas Cage is being added to those survivors. And now that he's out, or he's at least they've revealed more information about it, we now have what his abilities are in the game. Which, again, this is not one of his characters. This is the actor Nicolas Cage. So his abilities all center around acting.
So does he get to do improv or something?
So he has dramaturgy, which activates while you're healthy, while running.
I only know that as a song.
What's this? While running, press the active ability button to run with knees high for 0.5 seconds, and then gain 25% haste for 2 seconds.
That just sounds like exercise.
And then you get
more than acting.
Okay.
I love this. Followed by one of these random effects. You get exposed for 12 seconds, gain 25% haste for another 2 seconds, scream, but nothing happens. Or you get a random rare item in hand with random add-ons.
Right, because you have to have one really good thing to entice people to want to do it, right?
Holy crap.
I like scream, but nothing happens.
This man is 60 years old. Almost. Very close.
No, I'm pretty sure he's a vampire, so it doesn't matter.
But he is a vampire.
Yeah.
the newest film, Renfield.
No, I'm pretty sure
Based
he's
on
played
the-
a vampire in other things.
Based on the successful AAA Xbox game Redfield.
Definitely, that's what it was about.
Sure, that's how that.
He also has Scene Partner, which activates when he's in the killer's terror radius. Whenever you look at the killer, scream, and then see the killer's aura, there's a chance you will scream again. And if you do, you will see the killer's aura for an additional 2 seconds.
Ooh.
Sorry, you had me already at terror radius, which I realize is probably just a thing in the game, but
Terror radius, which I hope is shortened to Terradius. Now, this one's my favorite. Plot twist. Activate when you're injured. Press the active ability button while crouched and motionless to silently enter a dying state. When using plot twist to enter the dying state, you leave no blood pools and make no noise. You can fully recover from the dying state. And when you recover yourself using plot twist, you are fully healed instantly and gain 50% haste. So this is basically like you
Pretend you're dying.
Your character goes into what is the dying state, but then you come back with full health.
I mean, I
Pretty
kind of
good.
get why they called it plot twist, but I really wish they'd called that like dying scene or something.
So anyway, I love the idea of putting, like, they've done this a few times in Fortnite, although obviously characters in Fortnite don't have like specific abilities, but like these things where they put in like characters, like they put in, this has like Freddy Krueger and various
Like
monsters,
well-known characters, yeah.
and then they also have, they've got like people from The Walking Dead and different things. They've got all sorts of characters in it. But then when they put in like real people, like Fortnite has like real sports stars, like they're it's not like a character from a movie or anything. It's just like this actual person is for some reason in this battle royale shooting people. This is actually this is actually Nicolas Cage, which actually he does have a little. So the from what I understand, the conceit of Dead by Daylight is that there's this fog. It's called the fog, which is sort of what transports why there are disparate people from different areas, all being attacked by Freddy Krueger or whoever, or Ghostface. So yeah, actor Nicolas Cage, during a film shoot, Nick acts with such skill and gravitas that he accidentally summons Dead by Daylight's malevolent being of incomprehensible power, the Entity. Cage is thus sent to the Fog, where he fights for his life against the likes of Ghostface from Scream, Sadako from The Ring, Albert Wesker from the Resident Evil games, and many more killers. So, be this warning. Don't act too well, or else you might awake some sort of malevolent being of incomprehensible power. This
Very
is something
important
that
question.
Nicolas Cage has to struggle with a lot.
with.
Yeah.
Very, very important question. Did he have to mocap all of these things that he has to do? Did he have to mocap faking death? And did he have to mocap like running with his knees up high and all those things?
I hope so.
I think he should have.
I mean, he certainly did all the voice lines, but I'm assuming he didn't do the motion capture, which makes me sad.
Oh, that's too bad.
He's just chased by like a swarm of bees.
That would be a character thing, though.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't really happen to him.
No, that would be a character thing.
Although I love the idea that it's like, wow, you were so good in that movie. Well, I drew on my own personal experiences of being chased by a lot of bees.
And that The only other thing I remember of that movie is him just punching a woman in the face.
Yes.
Those are the two meme
Yeah.
Yeah.
bits. Yeah. Oh, Wicker Man. In other horror video game news, Friday the 13th, the game, is sadly being taken offline. Because, and not because of its lack of popularity. I don't know how popular it is or not, but because the license is expiring on it.
Yeah.
So it's going to be pulled at the end of 2023 because the license for the slasher movie series is expiring, which seems like that shouldn't happen. But
Yeah.
anyway,
To basically be like, this is going to impact a game, but the studio is moving on to other things.
like I could see, because like Dead by Daylight also either has or had Jason in it,
Yeah.
and then removed it, and then I think removed it because of licensing things. And like that I can kind of get. It's like, oh, we've got a character and then take him away because the licensing expired. But this is like the whole game. Like,
Yeah.
I thought this would just be like owned by the people who own the, anyway, whatever the case. What's cool about this is, so this is a asymmetrical. This is actually very similar to Dead by Daylight. It's an asymmetrical multiplayer game. So some people play Jason, some people play teenagers.
Not Jason. Yeah.
But so it's going to be going offline at the end of 2023. And so they were like, you know what? Because it has a lot of in-game stuff, progressions and things. And they were like,
levels.
They were like, you know what? Everybody is level 150, and everyone gets 30 of the most popular legendary perks. Everyone gets everything set to all the best rolls. All kills and challenge skulls will be unlocked. All XP has been taken away because everything that you used XP for is now just given to you. They're just like, you know what? We don't care anymore. Have it all. Apparently, they're saying this is partially to help reduce the dependence on their database servers. So it's like, if we don't have to chat, we don't have to track who has what if we just give everybody everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair.
Which
You
I
know
guess
what?
makes sense.
Go for it.
The only thing that you don't get apparently is the couple things that were actual DLC, and I don't think those are available for purchase anymore because they know that the game's going offline. I'm not entirely certain if that was the case, but it sounded like the way that the article was written that it was like you get everything that was just kind of already going to be baked in the game already, but the DLC stuff you don't. So if you had the DLC stuff, then you already have it, you'll get to keep it. And now it's just like the fear is, are people just going to stop playing it because they're like, well, now I'm not level 150 and so-and-so is level 130. Now we're all level 150. So what's the point of me playing this game? It's like, I don't, because the game was fun. Like, does playing against people of the same abilities make it harder?
Maybe weren't going to play the game at all might play it now.
There's that too, right?
I mean, the problem you get into sometimes with things like this is that then everyone's like, "Oh man, this game is awesome!" Everyone starts playing it, and then the license, then they're like, "I guess it's like, do we keep the game going now, just with everybody with all the stuff, or like?"
I mean, they probably can't.
You rip the license out of it, and now it's like Saturday the 14th, and it's like a whole bunch of people out at Dristle Lake who are running away from Snason.
So, ironically, that's what this game was originally.
It was a knockoff.
So, apparently, originally this game was a knockoff game. Everyone thought it was like, oh man, this is great. This is just, like Friday the 13th. It's, how come Friday the 13th don't actually make a thing like this?
Yeah.
Then the studio was like, hey, why don't we just make it an official thing? Change some of the stuff around. We'll, get it all set up. And then that relationship fell apart, I guess. And then so it sort of became licensed and now has lost the license. So I don't know. Maybe they can go back to whatever, Saturday the 14th.
Yeah. I mean, if it ultimately could, well, they're also saying too that they're gonna. It sounds like they're making a new game. Like that's what
probably,
they're moving on to.
I mean, it might be that if I was them, I might be a little burned out on this particular genre after having been, jerked around a fair amount.
But I mean, this is what happened to Among Us, right? Or what happened to Among Us could happen to them as well. So that if it turns out that a whole bunch of people end up loving the thing when they're saying we're planning on doing a new game, and all of a sudden there's a huge resurgence of interest in the game, and actually a lot of people start playing it, and it starts to be a very popular idea. And it's like, okay, so do we make a new game, or do we just actually we don't go back on what we said about like, oh, well, everyone got to be level 150, and now we're gonna put that all back in place. Like they don't do something like that.
Well, no, that just angers people.
But they're like, we come up with a new way to extend the game in some way, and
I don't think that's going to happen if they're already planning to move on.
Yeah,
that's just.
This is just to be like, but what it does do, if nothing else, is because as Evil Badman points out, they're moving on to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's like, great. I hate horror stuff. Anyway, but if it's the same style of game and they're doing TCM and they're like, and it's just like, we're just rehashing the game that we've already made, but now we're doing it with somebody who actually has a license who is going to let us keep the license for a few years. That's great. And maybe people love Friday the 13th so much that they'll be like, it sucks this is going away. It's like, yeah, but there's going to be a new version of this game with some new improvements and some other stuff. And if you liked this game, then come buy this other game and help support us again. And we'll keep running this one a while longer. That could be an easy way to kind of drag people to your new game.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just don't think so, but okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's
talk about.
Let's see what else going on here. TBS, not Turner Broadcasting. The television network, or the Japanese television network, TBS, which is the Tokyo Broadcasting System, is launching a full-scale entry into the games industry with the debut of their new company, TBS Games. So the idea is they want to, what is this? I like the TBS is no longer content with simply making good television. And now wants to deliver the most impressive gaming experiences across all platforms, including PC, consumer devices, and arcade machines. Which I like that they didn't go, it's like, we're not content with simply making good television.
Mm-hmm.
We want to make good video games as well. It's like, no, our video games are going to be way better than our television.
Like, I mean, at the very least, they might have some cool cutscenes.
Our television is only good, but our video games are going to be the most impressive gaming experiences across all platforms.
And part of it is based around, we're going to exploit the licenses that we have in the areas that we have them, because the one thing TBS does own that I know everybody has heard of is Sasuke Ninja Warrior.
Mm.
Oh, I was going to say K-On!
Which is Sasuke Ninja Warrior has already been turned into a video game.
Sure has.
And so has Saturday Night Chuba, which has both have already been made into video games, but they were that was just a licensing thing. Whereas now it wants to actually become, have control over the whole thing.
Yeah, which makes sense. And I wanted to write this up as a story, but I was like, boy, what I really want to do is go find some ridiculous anime that they own and say that here's the thing that they're doing. And I went and I looked at their whole list of anime, and I was like, oh, there's a lot of like really good stuff in here, that like stuff that I really enjoyed watching. But for the most part was like, some of these things that they own as anime, and I guess own is a thing, they are broadcasting it, but they probably put a grant into to getting it made. It's not like TBS says we need a new anime and they pay for it entirely. There's a lot of companies involved with saying this is how an anime is going to get made.
Sure.
So it's like a Netflix original.
Kind of, yeah. It's like TBS is like, we have anime blocks we need to fill, and so I'm sure they're going to different studios and saying, what are you making? What are you making? What are you making? Or they are helping to organize that. But a lot of times, if it's not an original anime, it's based off of a manga that's owned by somebody who's not TBS at all. So that complicates those relationships. And I was just looking at stuff, and I'm like, yeah, a lot of these are already based on video games to begin with. So almost certainly TBS doesn't own any of the IP involved in that. So that's like not going to be a thing. And then some of them are not like nobody's going to play Atomico Market video game. I have no idea what you even do with that, and that's a very old show. But I was like, there is a show out about a guy who owns tiny little girl robots who like fight on a desk. Sounds very Angelic Layer until you realize that they all just want to be sure that he's happy, and they all want to take care of him, and they all want to fight each other to make sure they can look out. And I was like,
Yep.
it's Angelic Layer, but it's a harem series. So I'm like, great.
No, it's a fantasy thing of a guy wanting a whole bunch of women to take care of him, which I get, but is really kind of bog standard in anime and kind of boring.
Yeah. So it's I just looked at what they had there, and I'm like, okay, well maybe the money here is in the variety shows, because the variety shows have all the weird challenges and all the ridiculous stuff, and it's like and I was like, okay, so let's have a look. And for example, the most memorable one that comes to mind is, what is it like in your country? Which is a thing where they bring on like 35 people who speak Japanese but are also from other countries, and then they sit on a TV show and they all talk about how different cultural things are in their show and stuff. And I'm like, I feel like they're gonna end up with a lot of like pub quiz games out of this TBS Games initiative.
Maybe I expect my minimum expectation is visual novels, because that's one of the easiest ways to do.
Oh, sure.
Right.
An adaptation of anime.
Yeah.
And
Or
a lot
dramas.
of anime has very popular visual novels.
Yeah. Because they do dramas as well, right? And it's like you could do a visual novel drama if you wanted to.
Or it'll be like a sports game.
Yeah, or it'll be a sports game.
That kind of thing. That's kind of where I expect my minimums on that. I don't really expect a lot of action games. I don't expect anything like a platformer with story elements that are interesting.
Yeah. I don't think anyone's going to make a pinball game based on the show about women athletes fighting male comedians.
Yeah. If they're doing arcade games, maybe more of a gachapon style thing.
Or
pachinko.
I thought a lot of arcades shut down in Japan.
I mean, yeah.
But I guess maybe that was just the Sega one.
So that's the
yeah. There's no real outside of they want to make games now. There's not really a lot of news in that.
Yeah, they haven't actually.
I don't think they've done anything yet.
Yeah, they haven't actually announced anything in particular.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what comes of this, because it is there's so many other like broadcasting, like Netflix has their little Netflix games thing where they're if you subscribe to Netflix, then you have access to games on iOS and Google Play, and it's like that's pretty good, but it's not like I don't think Netflix is actually, for the most part, for a lot of those games, is saying we're going to invest $20 million in your studio so you can make these amazing games just for us. It seems like more often than not, it's we're buying the rights to distribute your game on our service. They're Netflix originals after all. And I feel like that's going to be
that terminology.
I fear that's going to be kind of the similar idea where it's like gaming is supposed to be a way bigger market than just movies and TV. So why wouldn't you just
I'm not against it. I want to see what they do. I just think there's nothing to really talk about.
Yeah.
Until they do something. Yeah.
Or
like if they had announced a couple of projects or something, so I could be like, oh, I know that show. That could be fun. Or anything.
This is enthusiast news. We don't need information to have things to talk about.
Well, clearly not. I mean, we sometimes just ignore the news entirely, Paul. I know that.
And there are some crazy games from like the NES era that are like Japanese television personalities in platformer games. There's like Kato-chan and Ken-chan had an adventure game where they're like jumping on stuff and farting on things and whatever. And there's like another one called that we know of called I'm Sorry, but it's the Japanese name is actually it's the Japanese Prime Minister was the main character of the time, and like he had to like fight against like other TV personalities and also Michael Jackson.
I mean, sure. I know there's some ridiculous games. I feel like that's not necessarily what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And not all Japanese games are ridiculous.
No. They'll have to get a Dark Souls of TBS.
Okay, that would be funny. Maybe they'll do a Fortnite. Maybe all of their anime characters will be available for a Fortnite.
Well,
TBS Fortnite.
Speaking of ridiculous games, the last story I've got here is talking about, and this is something that's sort of been it came out a week or two ago and has been sort of percolating a little bit because getting information on it. But it was a little while ago. Somebody posted, a developer posted to, or shared a thing about how that they were rejected from the Steam marketplace. So the Valve rejected a game that they submitted because it had AI generated artwork in it. And so there's so the idea is like, is this a policy? Is Steam saying no to AI? Like, you can't have AI generated stuff? Because I mean, for one thing, there's already games that have AI generated stuff in them, I'm sure. And also, it's like this particular one, maybe it was more obvious that it was AI generated, I guess. But
Okay.
in any case, this has gone, there's been a lot of speculation about this, like, and getting Valve to actually clarify what their policy is on this. And what they've come down to is they have no problem. Not only do they have no problem with AI stuff, they say they don't want to discourage the use of AI generated content. And they say generative AI is bound to create new and exciting experiences in gaming, and we want to get that going. But at the same time, stated plainly, our review process is a reflection of the current copyright law and policies. These laws and policies evolve over time, and so will our process. So basically, because there has been a couple of high-profile law copyright disputes. Getty Images has gone after some stuff, and I know there's a few other high-profile lawsuits by artists and stock photo people about where the training data for all these, especially image generation AIs, have come from. And while that while that information is in copyright dispute, Valve has determined that their existing don't post copyright stuff, or don't post stuff for which you do not have the copyright. They've determined that policy applies in this case, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, because it's
So AI models trained on copyrighted things,
right,
specifically.
Yeah,
which at the moment is the majority of AI models.
Yeah, it's interesting to think that the sticking point there is that it's like, because where your art is coming from is being, it's so weird because it's a form of mimicry is what it is. Like when AI generated stuff, it's like I'm looking at a bunch of pictures that a bunch of actual people have created. Whether they took a photo of something, they said, I dialed in my camera, I got it the way I wanted to, and I took a photo of a sunset. Or that an artist said, I'm going to look at a sunset, or I'm just going to imagine a sunset, and I'm going to just draw it like fully out of my brain, that kind of idea. And thousands of those, and then the computer says, I look at 1,000 of these, and all I can do is take what I've already seen and then make it look as close to those things as possible, because that's what that's for. And it's like, right. So it's like if they're mimicking a sunset that has been drawn by 1,000 artists, and you're saying you can't use that, it's like, well, then if a person is mimicking a bunch of sunsets done by 1,000 artists, does that still mean it's okay, or is it still like, well, you're mimicking it?
Okay, so that's
because you're not creating a new thing.
That's generally where a lot of fights happen when you see a lot of this stuff. So this ruling is basically just we don't want to end up having a copyright fight.
Yes.
So I can kind of understand where Steam's coming from that. What you're saying is, okay, so if someone takes a photo of something and they take they take their time to composite it and do whatever to make this very special photo.
Yeah.
And then I take that photo and I paint the exact same image. Have I created something new?
It's weird, right? Because it's like you kind of have, but
I haven't.
But you haven't exactly.
So like that's where these arguments always end up like people have arguments about these things.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I mean, obviously, we don't have an answer to that here.
No, of course not.
And yeah, but it is in, you know, they are in this sort of legal gray area of that, you know, no actual copyrighted material is included in no pixels of copyrighted material are included in the actual model that is being used to draw these things. But the numbers that make up the model, the incredibly complex matrix of numbers, was generated by training it on copyrighted material. Is that still copyright? And that's an area that hasn't really been proven. And Valve is basically saying, we don't want to be the test case for that.
Yeah, no, exactly. I can't say I blame them.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, that would be the worst thing if Steam had to all of a sudden stand up to a person being like, I don't know, man, like that texture that's on that arm is something that I made that I hadn't seen anywhere else. I needed it for my game. And now that thing is mimicking that texture like 1-to-1 because it likes it for some reason. So they should not be using that. And it's like, yeah, I mean, you should be relying upon human beings a lot.
Yeah.
Just in general, rely upon human beings.
I mean, a lot of what I've seen in terms of like arguments over AI specifically, I've seen comics and stuff that people make that are like the future I expected, and it's robots like cleaning up floors and doing manual labor style tasks while a person is in the corner drawing art and being like very happy and satisfied with their lives because they get to be creative. And then it's like the future I'm getting, and it's the person doing all the grunt work while the computers do art, and they're very miserable. And I'm like, yeah.
We also have Roombas.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we don't.
Yeah.
They're very cute. Do you know you can put things on them to make your cats look like they're on pirate ships?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So not all robots are bad.
And say all robots are bad.
No.
Anyway, it's obviously it's an area that is you know, still very much evolving, and also, you know, because it touches on all sorts of different, you know, obviously art can be very tied to video game development, so it sort of crosses over into the area that we talk about in this show. But obviously video game development is not the only or even the primary place where, at least not where this particular, I mean, what we're talking about here is specifically the sort of image generation AI stuff. There's all sorts of other, obviously, programming helper generation type AIs and writing type AIs, and all, you know, there's all sorts of things that are all kind of evolving at the same time right now. Mm-hmm. So
the conversation's also really hard to like parse sometimes, because I don't know if you've noticed, but like because AI is a hot button topic and a hype word now, a lot of people say it when that's not even what they mean. A lot of ads have been using it, even though that's not exactly like, I've actually seen, like, I think it's Grammarly, it's like, our thing is an AI, and I'm like,
no,
it's a spell checker, but okay. And then you do have AI in terms of like a character's AI in a video game, which is not the same thing as this kind of AI that we're talking about. And
we've had AI for, you know, years and years and years and years and years. Ever since computers have really been around, we've had things that have been called AI, and there's, you know, pretty good reasons to say that what we have now isn't even close to actual AI, but it's the name that's stuck, unfortunately. So
yeah, but
we
it
seem
is
be-
hard to figure out what people are talking about sometimes because I literally just feel like I see people screaming AI, and then when you go to try to find out what they're really talking about, it's not.
And then and then you have people sort of talking past each other too, about
Yeah.
both being angry about AI or whatever, but actually meaning different things when they say the word AI.
Yeah. There's also this, I feel like because AI, like you said, it's been around for actually a while. Chat GPT didn't just burst forth out of nowhere one day. It feels like that because it like gained popularity and a lot of people were using it all of a sudden, but that's been something that's been clearly worked on for a long time.
Yeah.
And but there are people who when you talk to them, they feel like it just showed up yesterday, like
Well,
a piece of furniture at their house got delivered and they were like, chairs exist now.
Yeah.
And you're like, what? Huh? What do you mean now?
and that terminology of like because people also have been repeating this in the chat too, that it's like, yeah, like I mean, video games referring to character pathing, like NPC pathing and stuff like that as being AI. Like, it's like, well, the enemy AI is like this. And it's like that was a shorthand we came up with to refer to how the game determines how how enemy pathing or even companion pathing should work. Like Daikatana is infamous for that. And that was because like back then in the 90s, everybody was like, shit, we were throwing around VR around then as well, being like, it's like virtual reality, and it's like it'll be like you'll put these things on you, it's like you're actually there, and it's like, but actually not really, like you think, but not really. And so the we helped to muddy, our generation helped to muddy the waters for all of you younger folk because we were into that shit. We were like, oh yeah, the AI is so good in Doom, and it's like, was it, or was it just like reactive to what you were doing? It's not actually AI at all. It's just the enemies try to draw a point to get to you as fast as they can.
Terminology changes over time in that kind of instance.
Yeah. Anyway, it's clear that there's a big difference between these big, large language models, LLMs, and what we had previously. But yeah, one being AI and one being not is kind of turns the AI into a kind of a meaningless term, which is why lots of people are using it in investor calls and stuff.
Yeah,
where you might have recently, last year it was NFTs or whatever. This year it's AI.
Yeah, on the plus side, that means we don't hear them use the word NFTs as much in investor calls, and maybe they'll drop that or crypto. But it is still one of those things. It's like, okay, cool, that's the hot thing that you're just gonna say a lot of now, when you don't know even what you're saying. I can't wait to find out what next year's is.
And almost any game, if somebody would call you on it too, the great thing about AI is that you can, nobody can say you're not using AI, because you can be like, yes, we are. This has an artificial intelligent pathing system.
Yeah,
we use artificially intelligent spell checking on our design documents.
Do you want to add subtitles to your video? That's AI. I'm like, is it?
It's why
I
largely
didn't think it was.
Confusion over what AI is also it's why Apple has always referred to what they're working on as machine learning. They've never called it artificial intelligence. They'll refer to it as being a baseline to kind of get to those points, but they're like, everything we do is machine learning.
I feel like that is a more useful term in certain ways.
Yeah. I like it a lot. Like I like when people refer to large language models, when they refer to those and call them LLMs, I'm kind of like, I like that a lot because it does differentiate what an LLM is trying to do. It's trying to create a model for language and be as big as possible. And I'm like, that's descriptive.
That does give you do get the new Super Mario Brothers problem, right? Because pretty soon we're going to have VLLMs, very large language models.
Or XLMs, extremely large language models. Yeah,
like that's the Large Hadron Collider. There is the Very Large Hadron Collider is being worked on, I think, or at least being proposed.
I mean, I don't know about the two of you, but when I think about AI, like especially before this last year or so, I think of sci-fi movies where robots rise up.
Yeah. And everyone's like, "Ooh, Skynet," and it's like,
Not really.
Yeah, you're going to be
Yeah.
kind of disappointed if that's what you're hoping for.
The one thing that I really wanted to do, though, so Star Trek: Next Generation, you could just have Geordie LaForge walk up to the thing. He's like, "All right, so I need to code a new whatever," and he do. In about 10 seconds, he's coded a new thing, right? Or 30 seconds. Or when Data does it, you're like, "Oh, that makes sense." But when like a human does it, you're like, "Ain't no way." But you realize that, like now, I realize when I look at that, I'm like, "Oh, that's what GitHub's Copilot thing is trying to become, is a thing where I'm like, I need to do this and this and this. I need these modules to talk to each other in this way, and I need this input to go in and these outputs to come out." And then Copilot is saying, I will write all that actual code for you, is what the aim is, right? It's to be like, I need somebody to kind of help build out these things based on what other people have done before. And it makes me feel like that's what the computer was doing on the ship for Geordi when he was writing something in 10 seconds. Is it's like, I'm helping to fill in all these blanks, and nobody says boo about it, because it's like, right, that's how you code in the future, is you let the computer do all the really like low level shit.
They do it literally by voice in several episodes.
Right? They say, I need to do this,
I need this, these parameters, please compile whatever.
Yeah, and they are just like, yeah, it's perfect. You understood everything I meant when I said those things too. You understood the reasons I was asking for it. You got it from context. It's like, that's what we want these things to be.
Yeah.
But anyway, we were very off track.
Geordie just like glued together a couple Python scripts. That's his entire job.
Yeah, and he's chief engineer of the Enterprise.
Yeah, but that's what you do as a coder. You go and you like
glue together bits from Stack Exchange.
Other codes. Yeah. Like that's everything I've been told.
Don't tell that to people.
Yeah. I think they know, Paul. Pretty sure that's not a secret. If it is, you got to get better at having a secret vault. I will tell you all about where you can get one later.
Oh, can we? I know we're essentially going to wrap up, but the coming up, which was the mention of Sega's secret document that got leaked.
Oh yeah, this document. It was like a folder full of stuff from the mid '90s.
And it's the Sega Saturn era, and there, if you go to Ars Technica, there is there's a whole workup on here's what they saw, but the whole document itself is on the Sega Retro Wiki. So if you want to know what one person in particular was compiling for information within Sega,
it's a very specific snapshot of time, right? It's Saturn era, and where they're really happy and optimistic. It's like,
yes,
yeah, Saturn's kicking butt.
Yeah, we can do it. We can beat Sega.
Yeah,
and it's like Dreamcast is not quite on the horizon yet for them.
Do you think we need to ever make more than 20 games for our system? No, we'll be fine. 22, I think. Only some of which were released in North America.
That system.
We're talking about Dreamcast?
Saturn.
Oh,
before
Saturn.
Dreamcast, yeah.
I don't know any of the Saturn games.
It'd be very instructive to be like, what was Sega going through during the Dreamcast era? Because that was where the console thing was coming to an end for them. That would be very interesting. But seeing that time of the PlayStation has come out, and here's how Sega was viewing the PlayStation, not even the PS2, but the original PlayStation. It's like, okay, this is fascinating. And the N64 hadn't come out yet either, so it's like, I guess Sega was really aiming for this one thing. But part of their thing that they wrote up too, which I thought was very interesting, is they're like, there's a lot of people who are not happy with us about the Sega CD and the 32X. Like players, like the general, gaming public. It's like, they do not like what we did with the Sega CD and the 32X. How are we going to convince them the Saturn's actually a superior product to the PlayStation when it costs more money, and also it's harder to program stuff for, so there'll be less games.
The Saturn came out, right?
It sure did.
Right, it was like the Neptune that didn't.
Yeah, Neptune was, yeah.
Yeah,
there was like a one after that they were looking at doing, wasn't there?
Yeah, from what I understand, the Saturn, the big thing on the Saturn was that it was brutally hard to program for, especially in particular to program 3D things for. That like they didn't quite get what Sony got with the PlayStation, which was that 3D games were going to be the future. Saturn was quite good at doing nice sprite animations, but from what I understand, it's 3D stuff. For one thing, it was based on squares, whereas everybody else was big on triangles.
Yeah.
And it was basically like every 3D model, every 3D thing was like a sprite that you then got to control the four corners of to warp it into the right position. So you had to like do all the calculations. It was just, apparently it was not a good thing. But yeah. Dang. Should have gone for triangles.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, they were close. Like a square is really just two triangles attached.
But that's the innovation, right? Is that people they realize that, hey, wait, we don't actually we can just put two triangles together, and triangles are a lot simpler to make, and so we can just make a chip that can do a trillion triangles a second.
Honestly, I'm surprised they got over 20 games out.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that's all the stuff we have to talk about today. But thanks everybody for watching and joining us here on ChillPoint. If you haven't seen the episode of ChillPoint, it is up on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/LRRVG. And it's probably somewhere near this video if you are watching this on our YouTube channel. But until we see you again, goodbye.
Goodbye.